Before we start, if you enjoy the story, please leave a like and check if you're subscribed. Garrett Hayes hit the canopy at full velocity, branches whipping past his face as the drop pod's retro thrusters died 3 seconds early. He twisted mid-fall, caught a thick vine with both hands, and felt his shoulders scream as momentum tried to rip his arms from their sockets. The vine held. He dropped the last 15 feet in a controlled slide, boots hitting moss-covered ground in a crouch. The jungle breathed around him, humid air thick with the smell of rot and flowers, something between jasmine and carrion. His HUD flickered once and went dark. No surprise there. The Valkyrie had been clear, no technology beyond basic survival gear. This trial would prove whether humans deserved their seat at the council table or if Earth would remain isolated for another century. Garrett stripped off the drop harness and did a quick inventory. Knife, water purifier, medkit, rope, fire starter, everything else he'd have to earn from this green hell. He was 800 kilometers from extraction, 10 days to get there alive. The first water source appeared 2 hours later, a stream cutting through volcanic rock, clear enough to see the bottom. Garrett approached from downstream, scanning for predators. The water tested clean, but something made him pause before drinking. A scuff mark on the rock. Fresh. Too deliberate to be animal. "You're better than the others," a voice said from above. Garrett's hand moved to his knife as he tracked the sound. She dropped from a branch 20 feet up, landing with predatory grace that no human could match. Pale skin marked with black tribal patterns that flowed like war paint across her shoulders and face. Pointed ears, eyes the color of molten amber. The hide armor left little to imagination, functional, minimal, designed to showcase the lethal body beneath. "Sivara," she said, "your shadow for the trial." "I know what a shadow is." She moved closer, circling him like a predator evaluating prey. He tracked her with his eyes, not his body, refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing him turn. "Your species is weak," she said. "Soft. You have no claws, no venom, no natural weapons. You tire quickly." "And yet here I am." "Here you are." She stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he could smell her, something wild and clean like ozone before a storm. 10 days, human. 63 of your kind have attempted this trial. 63 have failed. Then I'll be the first success. She studied his face, searching for fear. He kept his expression neutral, though his pulse hammered against his ribs, not from fear, from something else entirely. She was stunning in a dangerous alien way that bypassed rational thought. "What's your name?" she asked. "Garrett Hayes." She repeated it, testing the syllables. "Strange sounds." She turned and walked away, melting into the jungle with unnatural silence. Garrett waited 30 seconds, then drank from the stream and filled his canteen. He'd expected observation. He hadn't expected her to announce herself. He chose a spot 2 kilometers upstream to make camp, finding massive trees whose roots created natural shelter. The jungle's daily rain would start soon. He had maybe an hour to build something waterproof. Garrett worked efficiently, cutting broad leaves and weaving them into overlapping sheets, lashing them to a frame of flexible branches. He'd just finished securing the last corner when movement caught his eye. One of the support vines hung at the wrong angle. Clean cut, recent. Someone had sliced it 3/4 through, leaving just enough to hold until weight stressed it. In the night, the whole structure would collapse. He rebuilt the shelter with rope from his pack, something she couldn't cut without him hearing. The rain started as he finished, warm and heavy. Garrett sat under his shelter and ate a ration bar, watching water stream off the leaves. She was out there somewhere. The question was whether sabotage fell under verification or if the Valkyrie had other plans. The rain stopped at sunset. Garrett was securing his perimeter when the jungle went silent. Every sound cut off at once, the kind of silence that meant apex predator. He drew his knife and pressed his back to the nearest tree trunk. The creature came from his left, moving fast, scales and too many legs. Garrett threw himself sideways. Claws raked the tree where his chest had been, gouging wood like wet clay. 12 feet long, built like a monitor lizard crossed with a tiger, jaw unhinged to show rows of curved teeth. Garrett ran, not away, that was suicide. He ran parallel to a fallen log, vaulted it, heard the creature crash through behind it, too big to turn quickly. He changed direction twice more, using the jungle's density against its size. A second creature dropped from above. Garrett saw its shadow and rolled. Claws caught his pack and tore it half open. He came up slashing, caught something soft. The thing shrieked. Blood sprayed black in the failing light. The first creature was circling back. Then Savara hit the nearest creature like a falling meteor. She drove both feet into its spine with a crack that echoed through the trees. The thing thrashed, but she was already moving, hands gripping its skull, twisting with impossible strength. The neck snapped. She rolled clear as the body collapsed. "Run," she said. They ran together, Savara matching his pace despite clearly being capable of faster. She guided him with touches, a hand on his shoulder pushing him left, fingers catching his wrist, pulling him under a low branch. The creatures pursued. Savara pointed to a cliff face ahead. They hit the rocks running and started climbing. Garrett's fingers found holds, arms burning. Below, the creatures circled, too heavy to follow. Garrett hauled himself onto a ledge 30 feet up and collapsed. Savara landed beside him, not even breathing hard, but something was wrong with how she moved. "You're hurt," he said. "I'm fine. You're favoring your left side." She glared at him, amber eyes blazing. "I said I'm fine." Garrett sat up. "You need my medical kit, the one in the pack you just saved." Below them, the creatures gave up and melted back into the jungle. The night pressed in, and Garrett could see the dark stain spreading across her left side, where claws had caught her ribs. "Why?" he asked. "Why what? Why save me? You've been sabotaging me since I landed." Savara looked away, jaw tight. "I don't know." Her communication device sparked once and went dark, deep scratches across the metal, circuitry exposed. The same attack that wounded her had destroyed her only link to whoever sent her. They were alone on a ledge barely wide enough for two, surrounded by a jungle that wanted them dead, and the Velkari warrior who was supposed to ensure his failure had just bled protecting him. Garrett pulled out his med kit. "Let me help." Savara's eyes met his, and for the first time he saw uncertainty behind the predator's confidence. She nodded once. The night was going to be very long. Garrett's fingers worked carefully, peeling back the torn hide armor to expose the wound. 3 parallel gashes ran along Savara's ribs, deep enough to show muscle. She didn't flinch as he cleaned them with antiseptic, though her jaw clenched. "Your people don't believe in anesthetics?" he asked. "Pain is instructive." Pain is just pain. He worked by the light of 2 moons rising over the jungle canopy. The ledge was small, forcing them close. Her skin was warmer than he expected, smooth except where the tribal markings raised slightly under his fingers. "You should have let me fall," she said. "That's not who I am. Who you are will get you killed." Garrett threaded the curved needle from his kit. "Maybe, but I'll die human." She watched him prepare the sutures with an intensity that made his hands want to shake. He forced them steady. The first stitch went in clean. She didn't move. "Tell me about your world," he said. Savara was quiet for 3 stitches. Then, "Velkar is red, twin suns, one dying. We evolved in the killing grounds between the day side and the frozen night. Only the strong survived." "Sounds lonely." "Strength isn't lonely, weakness is." Garrett tied off another suture. "I grew up tracking in the Pacific Northwest. My father said the best hunters weren't the fastest or strongest. They were the ones who could outlast their prey, who could read the signs and adapt." "Deer don't fight back." "No, but they survive anyway." He could feel her thinking about that as he worked. When he finished, his hands rested on her side for a moment longer than necessary. Savara's fingers wrapped around his wrist, not forceful, just present. "I was ordered to make you fail," she said. Garrett met her eyes. "I know. The cut shelter wasn't the first attempt. I contaminated your first water source." "I noticed. That's why I moved." She smiled at that, small but real, arrogant human. Observant human. Her grip on his wrist shifted, thumb finding his pulse point. "Your heart is racing." Adrenaline, from the attack. Liar. The word hung between them, charged with something neither was ready to name. Garrett should have pulled away. Instead, he stayed exactly where he was. "Why did you save me?" he asked again. Savara's other hand came up, fingers tracing the line of his jaw. Her touch was gentle despite the calluses. "Because when that creature came at you, you didn't freeze. You adapted, moved, survived." Her voice dropped lower. "Watching you has been instructive." "Instructive? I've observed 63 humans attempt this trial. They came with technology, with weapons, with arrogance. They died trying to dominate the jungle. You listened to it. Work with it." "We call it adaptation," he said. Adaptation. She tested the word, finding its shape. When her eyes opened again, something had shifted in them. "I need to tell you something," she said. A sound echoed up from the jungle floor, something between a roar and a shriek. Sivara's head snapped toward it, every muscle tensing. "More of them?" he asked. "Worse, that's a territory call. At least 6, maybe more." "Then we move at dawn." Sivara looked down at him. "When I don't report in, they'll send a retrieval team, standard protocol." "To rescue you?" Her silence was answer enough. Garrett stood, moving close. "What aren't you telling me?" "The trial is a formality. Earth has never been meant to pass." Her jaw clenched. "After 7 days, once you're deep enough that it would look natural, I'm supposed to kill you." The words should have changed everything. Instead, Garrett caught her hand. "Supposed to," he said, past tense. "I destroyed my communicator myself," she whispered. "After the attack. I made it look like damage, but I crushed the receiver with my own hands." "Why?" "Because I don't want to kill you, Garrett Hayes." His name and her voice did something to him. She stepped closer, her uninjured side pressing against him. "What do you want?" he asked. Savara's answer was to kiss him. Her mouth claimed his with intensity, one hand fisting in his shirt while the other cradled the back of his head. Garrett responded, his arms wrapping around her waist, careful of her wound but firm. She tasted wild and alive and dangerous. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, her forehead rested against his. "This is foolish," she said. "My people will hunt us both now." "I know." She laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. "You're insane." "Maybe," he brushed his thumb across her lower lip, "but I'm still alive, and so are you." Another roar echoed from below, closer. Savara's expression shifted back to warrior mode. "We sleep in shifts," she said, 2 hours each. At dawn, we move fast." "Agreed. And Garrett, when the retrieval team comes, they'll execute me for treason. Then we make sure they don't catch us." She smiled again, the expression transforming her face. "You really think you can survive this?" "I think we can survive this." Savara settled against the rock wall, wincing as her wound pulled. Garrett sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Tell me more about your world," she said quietly. So he did. He told her about rainforests and mountain peaks, about humanity's stubborn refusal to quit. She listened, occasionally asking questions that revealed how different their worlds truly were. When his 2 hours ended and her watch began, Garrett let himself drift off to the sound of her breathing. For the first time since landing, he felt something other than alone. Dawn broke through the canopy in shafts of amber and gold. Garrett woke to find Savara already standing at the ledge's edge, scanning the jungle below. Her wounded side was stiff. He could tell from how she held herself, but she moved with purpose. "They're here," she said without turning. Garrett was on his feet instantly, knife in hand. "How many?" 3. Vekran leads them. She paused. "He trained me, taught me everything I know about tracking and killing." "And now he's here to kill you." "Yes." The word was flat, accepting. Garrett moved beside her and followed her gaze. Below, 3 figures moved through the undergrowth with predatory efficiency. They wore the same minimal hide armor as Savara, bodies marked with tribal patterns. The leader was larger, more heavily scarred, moving with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a fight. "How long do we have?" Garrett asked. "They know we're on this cliff face. Minutes, maybe less." Garrett assessed their options. The ledge they stood on was a dead end, 30 feet of sheer rock above, the same below, nowhere to go but down into the waiting hunters. He looked at the canopy stretching away from the cliff. branches thick enough to support weight if someone was fast and light enough. "Can you jump that?" He pointed to a massive tree 20 feet from the cliff edge. Savara followed his gaze and understanding flashed across her face. "Yes, you can't. I don't need to. He was already pulling rope from his pack. I just need to swing. They'll see us. They already know where we are." He worked fast, tying the rope around the most solid rock protrusion he could find. Savara watched him, then moved to the cliff edge. Her body coiled, muscles tensing, and she launched herself into space. She flew, 20 feet of empty air, arms outstretched, and her hands caught the branch like it was inevitable. She pulled herself up in one fluid motion and turned back to him. "Now you," she called. Garrett wrapped the rope around his waist, took 3 running steps, and jumped. The rope snapped taut, swinging him in a wide arc toward the tree. He hit the trunk hard enough to knock the air from his lungs, scrabbled for purchase, and felt Savara's hand lock around his wrist. She hauled him up with strength that still surprised him. "Go," he gasped. They ran through the canopy. Savara led, jumping between branches that would have terrified any sane human. Garrett followed, trusting her path, using the rope to swing gaps he couldn't leap. Behind them, shouts echoed in a language he didn't understand. "They're splitting up," Savara said. "Vekran will pursue directly. The others will flank." "Where does this canopy end?" "A kilometer ahead, river gorge, too wide to cross above. Then we go down before that." They dropped through the canopy levels using vines and branches, hitting the jungle floor at a full run. The undergrowth was thick here, slowing pursuit but slowing them too. Garrett's lungs burned, sweat stung his eyes. Savara's breathing was labored now, her wound taking its toll. A spear buried itself in the tree beside Garrett's head. He dove left, rolled, came up moving. Savara was already engaging the flanker who'd thrown it, one of the other Valkyrie, female, fast as lightning. They moved in a blur of strikes and blocks, too quick for Garrett to follow. He saw an opening and didn't think, just drove his shoulder into the attacker's back. The Valkyrie stumbled. Savara's elbow caught her temple. The warrior went down hard. Savara snapped. Garrett tossed it to her. She bound the unconscious Valkyrie's hands with brutal efficiency while he kept watch. Movement in the undergrowth, closing fast. "Time to go," he said. They ran again. The jungle opened ahead into a clearing and Garrett's stomach dropped. It wasn't natural. The ground was scorched, trees shattered, and in the center stood a ship. Small, sleek, unmistakably Valkyrie design, empty. "They're transport," Savara said. "Vekran likes to keep his exit close." "Can you fly it?" "Yes, can you shoot?" She pointed to the ship's exterior weapon mount, a compact energy rifle locked in a quick-release holster. Garrett grabbed it, checked the charge. Full. "I can shoot." Vekran emerged from the tree line. He was massive up close, easily 7 feet tall, muscles layered over a frame that looked carved from stone. His tribal markings were more extensive than Savara's, telling a story of countless kills. He held 2 curved blades, each as long as Garrett's arm. "Savara," he said, voice like grinding rocks, "you shame your bloodline." "I shame nothing," she replied. "The trial is corrupt. Earth deserves its chance." "Earth deserves extinction. Weak species die. It is natural order." "There's nothing natural about rigging trials and murdering representatives." Vekran's laugh was ugly. "You think the council cares about fairness? Humans are chaos, unpredictable. They threaten stability." "They threaten your superiority," Garrett said. Vekran's eyes shifted to him, and Garrett saw pure contempt. "The inferior speaks. Tell me, human, do you think you can kill me?" "I don't need to kill you, I just need to beat you." Arrogant and stupid. Vekran moved. Not toward Garrett, toward Savara. She met him blade to blade, metal screaming. They fought with vicious precision, and Garrett saw immediately she was outmatched. Vekran was bigger, stronger, and her wound was slowing her down. Garrett raised the rifle and fired. The energy bolt caught Vekran's shoulder, spinning him sideways. He roared, more in fury than pain, and charged Garrett instead. Too fast. Garrett squeezed the trigger twice more, both shots catching center mass, but Vekran kept coming. Then Savara hit him from behind. She drove her blade between his ribs, angling up, and Vekran's charge faltered. He swung backward, catching her across the face with one massive fist. She flew, hit the ground hard, didn't get up. Garrett dropped the rifle and drew his knife. Vekran turned to him, blood streaming from multiple wounds, but still standing, still deadly. Persistent, Vekran said, like vermin. Like humans. They clashed. Garrett had no illusions about winning a straight fight. He used every dirty trick he knew, went for eyes, for joints, for the existing wounds. Vekran was slowing now, blood loss taking effect, but each blow he landed felt like being hit by a truck. Garrett's ribs cracked. He tasted copper, his vision blurred. Then Savara was there, her blade taking Vekran through the throat. The massive warrior dropped to his knees, amber eyes wide with disbelief. He tried to speak, blood bubbling from his lips, and collapsed forward. Savara swayed, her face already swelling from the hit she'd taken. Garrett caught her before she fell. "Ship," she mumbled. "Get to ship." He half-carried, half-dragged her to the transport. The third Valkyrie was nowhere in sight, probably regrouping or calling for reinforcement. Garrett got Savara into the pilot's seat and she started working controls with shaking hands. The engines hummed to life. "Strap in," she said. Garrett barely got his harness secured before she launched them straight up. The jungle fell away beneath them, and through the viewport, he saw the third Valkyrie emerge into the clearing, raising a weapon. Savara banked hard. The shot missed. They climbed higher, breaking through the canopy into open sky. "Where are we going?" Garrett asked. "Anywhere but here." She pulled up a navigation display, her hands steadier now. "The extraction point is still 5 days away, but this ship can make it in hours." "They'll be waiting for us." "Yes. Then we don't go to the extraction point." Savara looked at him, one eye swollen nearly shut, blood on her lips. "What are you suggesting?" "The council observer, the one overseeing the trial. Where is he?" Understanding dawned on her battered face. "The orbital station above the extraction point." "Can we reach it?" "This ship isn't designed for orbital insertion." "But can we reach it?" She smiled through split lips. "Yes. Then that's where we're going. We end this now." Savara's fingers flew across the controls, plotting a new course. Behind them, the jungle stretched away like a green ocean, and somewhere in orbit, the ones who'd rigged this trial waited, unaware that 2 survivors were coming for them with evidence and rage. Garrett reached over and took Savara's hand. She squeezed back, blood and sweat and defiance in every line of her body. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For choosing me over them." Her amber eyes met his, fierce and alive. "I didn't choose you over them. I chose truth over lies. You just happened to be the truth." She kissed him then, hard and quick, tasting of blood and victory. The ship climbed toward the stars, and the real fight was just beginning. The orbital station hung against the void like a steel flower, petals of docking arms extending from a central hub. Savara piloted the stolen ship toward it with steady hands despite her injuries. "They'll know we're coming," Garrett said. "They've known since we left atmosphere." The comm system crackled, a reptilian face appeared on the screen, scales the color of old bronze, eyes like yellow glass. "Arbiter Kelth, the council observer who'd overseen 63 failed human trials." "Unidentified vessel, state your purpose," Kelth said. Savara leaned forward. "Arbiter, this is Shadow Savara, requesting emergency docking. We have critical information regarding trial corruption." Kelth's tongue flicked out. "You arrive in a stolen ship with a human who should be dead, claiming corruption. Dock at Arm 7, come alone, the human remains aboard." "The transmission cut?" "That's a trap," Garrett said. "Obviously." Savara brought them in fast, skimming the station's hull. Alarms shrieked. She slammed them into docking Arm 3 with a crunch of metal. "He'll vent the arm when he realizes where we docked." She tossed Garrett a breather mask and energy pistol. "This gives you 30 minutes of air." They moved through the emergency airlock into empty corridors, too empty. "He's herding us toward the hub," Savara said. "Good, that's where the records are." The first security team hit them at Junction 12. 4 Valkyrie warriors, armored and armed. Savara dove sideways and came up firing. Garrett followed her lead. 2 warriors went down. They ran, energy bolts scorching the walls behind them. Savara slapped a wall panel and a blast door slammed down, cutting off pursuit. The hub door stood open. Kelth waited inside, standing before a massive curved display showing the jungle world below. "Shadow Savara," he said, "you surprise me. Most of your kind would have chosen death over dishonor." "There's no dishonor in truth," she replied. "Truth," Kelth's laugh was dry. "The humans failed their trials. That is truth." "The trials were rigged," Garrett said. "Of course they were." Kelth seemed genuinely puzzled. "Humans are chaos incarnate. Your species makes decisions based on emotion, on irrational concepts like hope and love. You cannot be predicted, cannot be controlled. The galaxy requires order." "The galaxy requires diversity," Savara countered. "Watch." Kelth touched the display. Video footage appeared, 63 humans, 63 trials, each one sabotaged, water sources poisoned, predators herded toward campsites, equipment failures, and in every case, a Velkari shadow ensuring the human died. "We gave them chances," Kelth said. "They simply weren't strong enough." "Manufactured challenges," Garrett said. "All challenges are manufactured, the strong overcome, the weak perish." Savara's face was stone, but rage burned behind her amber eyes. "The Council knows?" "The Council ordered it. Humans petitioned for membership 70 years ago. We've been denying them ever since." He pressed another control, the hub doors sealed, atmospheric vents hissed. "You're venting the hub," Garrett said, checking his breather mask. "I am sterilizing a contamination." The air grew thin, Garrett's mask engaged. Savara's breathing slowed, her biology adapting. "The recordings prove the conspiracy," she said. "They prove nothing. I will erase them after I erase you." Garrett moved toward the console. Kelth was faster, placing himself between Garrett and the controls. They collided. Kelth was older, but strong, his scaled body like armor. Garrett went low, trying for joints. Kelth's claws raked across his shoulder, shredding skin. Savara hit Kelth from the side, her blade flashing. Kelth caught her wrist. They grappled, and Garrett saw her wound reopening, blood soaking through the bandage. Garrett grabbed the energy pistol and fired point blank into Kelth's side. The bolt punched through scales and burned deep. Kelth roared, threw Savara across the hub, and turned on Garrett. Garrett fired again. The pistol sputtered, charge depleted. Kelth's claws wrapped around Garrett's throat. "Persistent vermin," Kelth hissed, "die knowing your species will never—" Savara's blade took him through the back of the skull. Kelth's eyes went wide, his grip loosened, he collapsed. Savara stood over him, blade dripping, her face spattered with blood. She swayed. Garrett caught her before she fell. "Console," she gasped, "download everything." Garrett lowered her and moved to the controls. His fingers flew across the interface, pulling every file related to human trials. The station's AI tried to lock him out, but Savara called out override codes between labored breaths. "Got it," Garrett said, pulling the data crystal from the port. "Everything. All 63 trials, all the sabotage orders." Savara tried to stand, made it halfway, and collapsed. Garrett was at her side instantly. Her wound was bad, worse than before. Blood pooled beneath her. "We need to get you to medical," he said. "We need to get this data to Earth. You matter more." She smiled, tired but genuine. "When did I become more important than your mission?" "When you chose me over your orders." He lifted her and carried her toward the medical bay. In the medical bay, automated systems sealed Savara's wound, replaced lost blood, pumped her full of healing agents. He stayed beside her, holding her hand while machines hummed. When her eyes opened again, they were clear. "How long?" she asked. 2 hours, we need to move." They made it back to the docking arm. The stolen ship's engines still fired. Savara took the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. "Earth," she said, 3 weeks at maximum speed. "They'll pursue. Let them. We have what we need." Savara initiated launch sequences. The station fell away behind them. Ahead, the stars beckoned. Garrett sat beside her, the data crystal secure in his pocket. Proof that humanity deserved its place. And beside him, a warrior who'd sacrificed everything for truth. "What happens when we reach Earth?" Savara asked. "We expose the Council, force them to acknowledge what they've done. And then, Then humanity takes its seat whether the galaxy likes it or not. She looked at him, amber eyes burning. You really believe that? I believe in humans, in our ability to adapt and survive. He took her hand. I believe in us. Savara leaned over and kissed him, gentle despite everything they'd been through. When she pulled back, she was smiling. Then let's go prove it. The ship accelerated toward a future neither could predict, but both were willing to fight for. Earth filled the viewport, blue and white and green hanging in the void like a promise. Garrett had been gone 6 weeks. It felt like a lifetime. 3 ships on intercept, Savara said, reading the sensors. Council enforcement. Can we outrun them? Not in this condition. Hull integrity is at 40%. One more hit and we're venting atmosphere. Garrett looked at the data crystal in his hand, then at Savara. Her face was healing, the swelling gone, but the tribal markings seemed darker now. Changed. She'd become something her people had no word for, a traitor who'd found something worth betraying for. Broadcast everything, he said, wide spectrum, every frequency Earth monitors. They'll shoot us down before the transmission completes. Then we buy time. Savara's fingers moved across the controls, initiating the upload. The ship's communications array lit up, pumping data toward Earth at maximum bandwidth. Trial recordings, sabotage orders, 63 murders disguised as failures. The lead council ship hailed them. A Velkari commander appeared on screen, his markings indicating high rank. Stolen vessel? Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Garrett leaned into view. This is Garrett Hayes, human trial candidate. I'm transmitting evidence of council conspiracy to Earth authorities. Any attempt to stop this transmission will be considered an act of war. The commander's eyes narrowed. You have no authority to make such declarations. I have the authority of truth, and 3 billion humans who are about to see what you've done to their representatives. The transmission was halfway complete, the council ships were closing, weapons charging. Savara's hands moved constantly, routing power, compensating for damage, keeping them alive second by second. Incoming fire, she said. The first bolt hit their aft shield, draining it to nothing. The second missed by meters. The third would have cored them if Savara hadn't rolled the ship at the last instant. 60% transmitted, she reported. Not enough. They need context, proof the recordings are authentic. Garrett activated the comm. This is Garrett Hayes. If you're receiving this, know that humanity has been systematically denied council membership for 70 years. Every trial was rigged. Every candidate was murdered. The warrior beside me is Savara of the Velkari. She's risked everything to expose this conspiracy because she believes in something her people tried to breed out: mercy, compassion, truth. Another bolt rocked the ship. Sparks erupted from a console. Savara killed the flames with a fire suppression burst. 80%, she said. The council ships were surrounding them now, boxing them in. Garrett could see weapons charging for a final salvo. They'd waited until the transmission was almost complete on purpose. Wanted Earth to see them die. Wanted to send a message about the cost of defiance. 90%. Garrett reached over and took Savara's hand. She laced her fingers through his without taking her eyes from the controls. When this is over, he said, assuming we survive, what will you do? I don't know. I'm exiled from my people. I've broken every law they hold sacred. That's not what I asked. She looked at him then, amber eyes fierce and alive. I'll stay with you, if you'll have me. I'll have you. Even though I'm from a species that tried to murder yours. You're not your species, you're Savara, the warrior who chose truth over loyalty, who saved my life, who... Transmission complete, she interrupted, but she was smiling. The council ships fired. Then Earth fired back. Garrett watched in awe as 3 human warships dropped out of FTL, weapons already hot. They were newer designs, experimental, built in secret during the decades of denied applications. Earth hadn't been idle. The council ships scattered. The human ships didn't pursue, just positioned themselves between the council forces and Garrett's damaged vessel. Unidentified human ship, this is the UES Defiance, a voice crackled over the comm. We've received your transmission. Stand by for escort to Earth. Garrett let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Savara slumped in her seat, exhaustion finally catching up. "Did we just start a war?" she asked. "Maybe. Or maybe we just ended one before it could begin." The Defiance moved alongside them, close enough that Garrett could see crew members through the viewports. Some were pointing at their ship, at Cyvera. Word was spreading fast. "Candidate Hayes," the Defiance's captain said, "Earth would like you to know that we've already transmitted your evidence to the broader galactic community. The Council is facing emergency hearings. Several member species are demanding answers." What about humanity's petition? Being fast-tracked, given the evidence of conspiracy, the Council has little choice but to approve membership or face dissolution. A pause. "You did it! Against all odds, you actually did it." Garrett looked at Savara. "We did it." The journey to Earth took 3 more hours. Garrett spent it with Savara in the back of the ship, away from the controls, away from the politics and machinations. They sat close, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. "What will your people think," she asked quietly, "when they see me?" "They'll think you're the warrior who saved their representative and exposed a conspiracy. They'll think I'm a traitor." "You are a traitor to evil. That's the best kind." She laughed, the sound startled and genuine. "You have an interesting way of viewing things. It's called optimism, very human. I'm learning." They descended through Earth's atmosphere, the Defiance guiding them to a military installation. Crowds had already gathered outside the base. Thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands. News drones swarmed. The ship touched down with a hydraulic hiss. "Ready?" Garrett asked. Savara stood, straightened her armor, and took his hand. "No, but I'll do it anyway." "Now you're really learning." The airlock opened. Garrett stepped out first, squinting in Earth's yellow sunlight. It felt wrong after the binary stars of the trial world, but wonderfully wrong. Home. Savara emerged behind him, and the crowd went silent. Garrett felt her tense, ready for hostility. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Within seconds, the entire crowd was applauding, cheering, screaming approval. Savara looked at Garrett bewildered. "I don't understand." "They're thanking you." "For what?" "For proving that honor exists beyond species, that courage isn't limited to humanity." Military personnel approached, a general at their head. She saluted Garrett crisply, then turned to Savara and extended her hand. "On behalf of Earth," the general said, "thank you for your service to truth and justice." Savara stared at the offered hand, then slowly took it. The general's grip was firm, respectful. "I betrayed my people," Savara said quietly. "You honored your principles. There's a difference." Over the following hours, Garrett and Savara gave statements, debriefs, testimony. The evidence they'd gathered was airtight. The Council's conspiracy collapsed under its own weight. 3 days later, humanity was granted full Council membership with formal apologies and reparations. Garrett stood on a balcony overlooking the Pacific Ocean, watching waves crash against rocks. Footsteps approached behind him. "They're offering me asylum," Savara said, joining him at the railing. "Full citizenship if I want it." "Do you want it?" "I want you." He turned to face her. The setting sun caught her pale skin, turned her amber eyes molten gold. She'd kept the tribal markings, but added something new. A small tattoo on her wrist, the symbol for Earth. "I'm not easy to live with," Garrett said. "I disappear into forests for weeks. I don't talk much. I have scars and nightmares and a stubborn streak that nearly got me killed." I noticed. "And you still want this?" "I watched you face death with nothing but a knife and determination. I watched you show mercy when my people showed none. I watched you prove that humanity deserves its place among the stars." She stepped closer, her hands finding his waist. "Yes, I want this. I want you. All of you." Garrett kissed her as the sun set over Earth's ocean, 2 warriors who'd survived the trial of their lives and found something worth more than survival. "What now?" she asked when they finally broke apart. "Now we live, we explore, we show the galaxy what humans and Valkyrie can accomplish together. They'll hate us for it, both our peoples. Some will, others will see what we see, that the galaxy is better with bridges than walls." Savara smiled, the expression transforming her face into something radiant. You really are an optimist. I'm human, it's what we do. She laughed and pulled him close, and as the stars began to appear above them, Garrett knew that whatever came next, political fallout, cultural challenges, the simple difficulty of loving someone from another world, they would face it together. Two survivors, two warriors, two souls who'd found each other in the depths of a manufactured trial and emerged with something genuine. The galaxy would have to adjust. Humanity had taken its seat, and it had done so not through dominance or submission, but through adaptation, truth, and the stubborn refusal to quit that defined their species. And beside humanity stood Sci-Fi, living proof that honor transcended biology, that courage knew no boundaries, and that sometimes the greatest strength was choosing mercy when the whole world demanded cruelty. Together, they watched the stars emerge, infinite and beautiful, and knew their story was just beginning.